And at this point, I don't know right now. That scene's still active. Go ahead.
Were some areas evacuated because of the danger? Because of the
I'm pretty sure that that's a residential area out there on Lockwood, and that's what we do. We try to evacuate everybody around there, keep them safe.
Could you describe the suspect's knowledge of the home he's barricaded in? Is that a home that he knows? Is he breaking
I'm not sure. I just can tell you it's a single residence home, a one story, I think. Yeah. I don't have any suspect information right now. Nothing confirmed. Okay.
was there anybody in the home when he went into that home?
I did get some reports that there were some residents in the home and they ran out when he came, but we don't believe it's anybody in there right now but the suspect, but we need to confirm that.
So no potential hostages.
Not at this time. Any more questions?
Was the Lockwood address like a random place that he went to, or did he go there for
I'm not sure. Yeah, not sure, Randy. Thanks.
Chief, this callous disregard for the law, for law enforcement, the lives of law enforcement, what do you attribute that to?
Hey, who knows? But I know one thing, Randy. We need to address it, and we need to deal with those individuals. And one thing that people miss sometimes, it's not most of our citizens. It's a small group of individuals that's committing havoc. Our city is a great city with great people in it, and we're gonna stand up for them, and we're gonna find out a way to deal with those very few, very violent individuals. So thanks for that question.
Chief, could you let us know about the ranks of the officers injured?
Everybody is I'll give you the
3, 4, and 5 years.
3, 4, and 5 year. They're all officers from Northeast. Thanks for asking.
So because they continued to, participate in the shootouts after they were already injured.
Let me tell you something, and that's what people need to understand about the great men and women on our police department. You have some brave officers that put their line on the line every day, and I'm proud of them. And make no mistake about it, we release videos, and citizens are gonna see the fight in them when they have to fight.
For the mayor, you said that you're going to announce some initiatives next week. Are you talking to other cities? You know that this is happening across the country.
It is happening across the country, but I would tell you I'm primarily concerned about what's happening in the city of Houston. Over the last week and a half, Chief Fenner and I and others have been talking about additional steps that we intend to take to protect the people in this city and to make this city safer. A more comprehensive approach. Quite frankly, that was going to be laid out this week, but so much has taken place this week. So we will unfold those initiatives next week. But the crime in this city is too high. Okay. And it is important that we do everything on our part at the city to combat that. Now, even everything that we will announce next week need to be augmented and supplemented by other levels. We have way too many cases that are backlogged criminal cases, over 100,000. That's unacceptable. Okay. So there are many additional things that need to take place. But in terms of what the city can do, we will lay out those additional steps that we intend to take next week. I do want to acknowledge Doug Griffin, head of HPOU, and thank him and the union for their collaboration all throughout this. But those initiatives will be announced on next week.
All right, that's it. Okay, one more, and we'll let Chief, you want to translate for us? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Where did it start? The street that it started, and it was around 3 o'clock, right?
Yeah, 2 o'clock, Trolley Street.
Trolley Street.
Okay. Yeah, truly. Yeah.
Bueno, buenas tardes. Mire, estamos aquí para informar a nuestra comunidad que esta tarde, más o menos como a las 3 de la tarde, comenzó los policías, el departamento de policía, a seguir un sospechoso. Comenzó en la calle Trolley y llegaron hasta la calle McGowan y Hutchin, donde el carro chocó. El sospechoso que estaban siguiendo salió del vehículo y comenzó a disparar contra los policías. Fueron 3 los policías que fueron heridos. Los policías tienen 3, 4 y 5 años en la fuerza del departamento. Ahorita están en condición estable y Como dice el jefe de policía Troy Finner y el alcalde Sylvester Turner, están muy orgullosos, todos estamos muy orgullosos del trabajo que hicieron en el Departamento de Policía hoy para poder contener esta emergencia. Ahorita el sospechoso está barracado en una casa. Todavía es una escena que sigue comenzando en pie y esperamos que se resuelva bien y apropiadamente. Pero les podemos comentar que los policías están estables ahorita, esperamos que se recuperen a un 100%, pero queremos que la comunidad los tenga en su pensamiento y que recen por ellos y nuestra comunidad, que ahorita estamos viendo mucho crimen en esta comunidad. El alcalde también quiere comunicar que está incluyendo recursos apropiados para aumentar los elementos de policía para poder combatir este crimen que estamos viendo en nuestra comunidad. Y él está poniendo de su parte para poder hacer lo que se tiene que hacer para que la ciudad de Houston esté bien y segura.
Let me just say, I also appreciate the president and the executive director of the African American Police Officer League being present as well.
Okay. Thank you all. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for being here.
That was an update from Chief Finner and Mayor Turner on the shooting of 3 officers and an ongoing standoff with the suspect. You can see all the flashing lights in the live shot here. Mayor Turner says all 3 officers' injuries are non-life threatening. 1 officer shot in the foot, 1 in the leg, 1 in the arm. All are in good spirits.
As for that standoff, it continues right now on the 5th floor. Let's go to Melissa Correa. She's there live. Melissa?
Hey there, Len. As night is falling, the most we can make out at this point are the red and blue flashing lights from law enforcement vehicles posted throughout the intersection of Lyons and Lockwood. I can tell you folks, since we joined you last during KHOU 11 News at 5, that HPD's bomb squad and SWAT team have moved in even more tactical gear, including a newer device called the Rook. From what we saw here at Public Vantage Point, it looks as though it provides a shield, and it also moves or maneuvers like a bulldozer and a forklift. Police Chief Troy Finner talked about those ongoing negotiations with the suspect identified by the state's largest police union as Roland Caballero. It's the police union that confirms on social media that Caballero was shot in the neck. Police are now confirming he's holed up inside a single-story home somewhere here in the 5th Ward on Lockwood. Authorities aren't giving too many more details, and of course, for strategy, an HPD chopper is hovering overhead. That's why Air 11 is not providing a live picture of this scene here for maneuver reasons and all of those sorts of things. We want to make sure that these officers are absolutely safe as they continue to negotiate with this man. Federal agents down to Harris County constable deputies are here. They are suited up. Some of them at some points this afternoon have their guns drawn, and all of them have their bulletproof vests on. The staging area for those law enforcement officers are here at Lyons and Lockwood. Police did an excellent job, I can tell you, rapidly clearing the scene. A Chase Bank and 2 pharmacies here on this intersection. An elementary school and a high school are just blocks away. Okay, so this is what's happening right now. This standoff with this man suspected of shooting 3 Houston police officers. A live photo from Air 11 and some live pictures there in the 3rd Ward, about a 4-mile drive from where we are here at Lyons and Lockwood, is going to detail what happened earlier this afternoon. And that's the new information that we're getting now. Just before 3 this afternoon, some Houston police officers got a call about a disturbance at a Houston home. Well, a guy, as soon as the cops showed up, police say, jumped into a car and police had to give chase. As soon, police say, as the guy turned onto Hutchins at McGowan, he crashed his vehicle. Police say he flung open his door, and officers on the ground told the police chief they believe a fully automatic weapon was used to shoot and hit 3 Houston police officers. Thankfully, they're being treated at the Texas Medical Center this evening, and we're told conditions are stable as far as that much is concerned. But a wild scene about 4 miles away. We're hearing from a witness witness who spoke to KHOU 11 earlier this afternoon. Listen to what he told us today. Okay, we don't have that sound up. We do not have that sound up available. This is an active scene as we're continuing to cover multiple scenes throughout the Houston area. An investigation is happening there at McGowan and Hutchins as police exchanged gunfire with this man that a Texas police union is identifying as Roland Caballero. He is now holed up, according to Houston's police chief, at a home along Lockwood, not far from Lyons. Houston police are telling us perhaps when this scene is clear that we'll get a media briefing here on scene in the 5th Ward. You know, to go back to what Mayor Turner just said earlier this evening, we are living in a dangerous time. 3 Houston police officers shot attempting to respond to a disturbance at a home. This is coming days after a Harris County corporal was shot and killed during a traffic stop. At the very least tonight, prayers for police and the hope that all of these authorities here on scene make it home safe and sound.
Work, and we are hoping for all of them to head home safe tonight. Melissa Correa, thank you. The injured officers were taken to Memorial Hermann Hospital. David Gonzalez joins us now live in the Texas Medical Center with more on their conditions. David.
Hey, we just finished talking to Mayor Sylvester Turner, who wants the whole community to pray for these 3 officers who were shot this afternoon in 3rd Ward. He said that one officer was shot in the foot, another officer was shot in the arm, and the other one in the leg, all luckily suffering non-life-threatening injuries. We've learned that those 3 officers are each a 3, 4, and 5-year veteran of this force. And just seconds ago, they told us that we can expect the names of those officers to be released around or just before 10 o'clock this evening. But they're telling us that the mayor met with all 3 officers individually and that they're all in good spirits, which is good news. And they're talkative. The mayor says that he thanked them for their service and that he says this could have been a lot worse because, as we've mentioned, it's been a very sad and deadly week for law enforcement here in Harris County. He says that this is not only a tough week for law enforcement, but it's a tough week for the city of Houston and also Harris County. He says that being in law enforcement right now is inherently a very dangerous job, and he's very proud of what these officers do every single day. He wants the community to pray for these officers and also be supportive of any officer and law enforcement officer that they see out in the scene because he appreciates what they do. And he once again says that this is just a very dangerous time for these officers. He also mentioned that next week he plans to release some steps that will make this city safer. He's calling gun violence in the city an epidemic. Mayor Turner saying the same, Mayor Turner and Chief Troy Finner both reiterating that, saying that this is just a very dangerous time for people living in the city of Houston, but they both vow to make the city safer. But as far as the condition of those 3 officers, we're very happy to report that all 3 of them suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Mia and Len, back to you.
Best news we could have gotten today, considering the circumstances. David Gonzalez, thank you. Let's get a quick check now before we wrap up this newscast with David Paul for a look at this evening's weather. Dave?
Weather-wise, it's been a quiet day, but if you are sneezing, it is the cedar pollen, which has gone up to 222. That's at my Twitter account as well if you want to get another look. 56 outside right now. Dew points at 39. It is a delightfully cool evening outside. Traffic's busy on the west side of the 610 loop. Hobby 59. Galveston is a chilly 55 right now. And this evening will quickly drop into the upper 40s as we head toward bedtime tonight. And then as we head into the next 3 days, there's a slight rain chance tomorrow morning. And then after that, it's gorgeous Friday afternoon and Saturday.
Once he got out of that vehicle, he carjacked at gunpoint a white Mercedes-Benz. Other officers pursued him to a home in the 1800 block of.
You gonna leave? I'll leave it on. Let me get things started. Standing, of course, here with Chief Fenner. He'll be speaking in a few minutes. Appreciate Chief Pena from the fire department being here. Thank you, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee, for being here. Councilmember Carolyn Evans Shabazz, and all of these men and women in blue, police officers. Kind of give you a brief update, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Chief Fenner. Let me just start off by saying we are certainly praying for our police officers. who was shot today. I will tell you, one was shot in the foot, one was shot in the leg, and one was shot in the arm. All of their injuries are non-life threatening. Had a chance to visit with each one of them and even with some of the family members. All three officers are in good spirits. All were talkative. And we expressed, number one, our support of them, how appreciative we are of their service, and how grateful and thankful that their injuries were not a lot worse, because it could certainly have been a lot worse. So again, all of them are in good spirits, and their injuries are non-life threatening. Had a chance to talk to all of them. This has been a tough week. Starting on Saturday, it's been a tough week. It's been a tough week for law enforcement, and it's been a tough week for the city as a whole. Quite frankly, for the city as well as the county. What it indicates again is that being a police officer in this case, or in law enforcement, is an inherently dangerous job. Every single day, when these police officers leave their homes, go on their particular shifts, not knowing what they will encounter in that day, being a police officer is an inherently dangerous job. And so I cannot tell you how proud I am of every single law enforcement officer that serves our city, that gives their all in the service of our city. And so I want to ask the people in this city to continue to lift them up, to continue to be very supportive of them, to let them know that we are very supportive of them and that we appreciate them doing everything they can to keep the rest of us safe. These are inherently right now dangerous times, and that was demonstrated again today. We are living in inherently dangerous time, and it's going to take all of us working together to create and have a very safe city. There are a lot of guns on the street. Quite frankly, there are just too many that are on the streets and in the hands of people who will use these guns at a second on a notice. And again, this is one of those situations. Person gets out, person starts shooting. And now we have 3 police officers who are in the hospital with gunshot wounds. So I want to continue to be supportive. Now, let me just say this. The chief and I, on next week, we'll lay out some additional steps that we intend to take in this city to do our part as a city to try to make this city a safe city in which to live. So next week, we'll lay out some additional steps. I won't go into those steps today, but I'm going to ask people in this city to work with police, to work with Crime Stoppers and others, to participate in helping to make this city a safer city. And if we work together, we will do that. We're going to get through these times. And I know there's a lot of people are fearful right now, justifiably so, but we will get through these times. But in the meantime, please pray for these 3 officers that their recovery will be very quick, that they'll be able to get back on their feet and then get back to their jobs in the line of duty, doing what they love to do each and every day. Having said that, Chief Fenner, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Congresswoman, Councilwoman, and Chief Pena, Union, and all our other leaders. Thank y'all for standing with us. Mayor's hit on a lot of the points. I just want to say one thing. I want everybody, all our leaders, before I update you on what happened out here on this scene, no more excuses. Everybody, take an active role and get intentional in doing whatever you can do to fight gun violence in our city, period. It's not really a difficult thing. Bad, dangerous people, it's a place for them, and that's in jail. But let me give you the update. So approximately 2:42 p.m., officers responded to a residence on the 1500 block of Trolley Street. The suspect at some point spotted the officers. He took off in a vehicle. Officers pursued the suspect to McGowan and Hutchison Street. The suspect crashed. Officers, as they got out of the vehicle, the suspect immediately fired upon the officers, striking 3 officers. All the officers returned fire. It is unknown at this time if that suspect is hit. Once he got out of that vehicle, he carjacked at gunpoint a white Mercedes-Benz. Other officers pursued him to a home in the 1800 block of Lockwood. Officers surrounded that house. The suspect fired multiple times. Thank God he didn't strike any of the officers. Officers returned fire. Again, we don't know if that suspect is injured. He's still in the home. We treat it as a barricaded suspect. We'll give you an update as I receive it. The last update I received a few minutes ago, he's still in the home. We're trying to negotiate to get him out. We got 2 crime scenes. The officers who fired, they're going to be on administrative leave after they get out of the hospital. But the mayor said it, and we're just grateful to God that they're all right. It's been a tough week for law enforcement in our city. And the two law enforcement officers that we lost, continue to pray for them and their family as we plan for their funerals. It is tough. When I received that call today, 3 officers down, and you don't know the condition. But I'm going to tell you, stand by your law enforcement officers. Stand by the justice system. And we're going to continue to work here in Harris County, Houston-Harris County, to make sure we're doing everything we can do. But we need help from everybody. And remember what I said. And this doesn't go for individuals who need treatment, suffering from drug addiction or mental illness. But these violent individuals, I'm damn tired of it. And we need to stand up as a community and do whatever we got to do. If that is to have more jail capacity, let's get it done. No more excuses. Questions?
Before
I'm
you go
sorry.
to question, let me just say this. I do want to thank the police officers who transported
Yes.
these wounded officers to
Yeah,
Memorial
HPD.
Herman. And I want to thank the Houston Fire Department, Chief Pena, for being right there promptly and for transporting officers to Memorial Herman. And then let me thank the medical team
Yes.
and the staff, the nurses, the doctors here at Memorial Herman each and every time. They do an exceptional job of going over and above, providing excellent medical care to our officers, to firefighters, to people who find themselves in need of care. You just couldn't find a better place. So, we took the time, in addition to thanking firefighters and police officers, thanking the medical team and the medical staff. I do want to say that, we provided resources to the police department. We'll provide even more. It's going to take all of us at every level to step up and to do our part to make this a safer city. And we will. We will make this a safer city. And we will provide our police officers with all the resources that they need. But I do want to say next week that we will be outlining additional steps that will be taken to reinforce police officers and others who are out here fighting to make our city safe each and every day. But I do want to thank these police officers and firefighters and others for being on the front line and for doing an exceptional job on behalf of the people in our city. Thank you, Chief. I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Go ahead. Questions?
What was the original call? How did they end up coming in contact?
Just some type of disturbance call, out of family disturbance, possibly because it's at a residence, but it's still active, and that's what I have at this time. Go ahead.
Sources of mine told me that the gunman might have been using a weapon modified with like an auto switch.
I can tell you this, and I can't confirm it because but what it officers described it as an automatic, a fully automatic weapon, and that's something else that we need to address in our community, and we will.
Do you think is the suspect still alive? Do you think?
I'm not sure. I don't know. They're still out, trying to negotiate with him and get him out, so we don't know at this time.
You've been communicating?
No. Go ahead. Yeah. Give us 1 second. We're gonna get through with these, and then we'll do the yeah. Okay. Hold up. Let this pass.
There could be 50 plus shots fired. Is that?
That could be accurate. Multiple shots. Yes. Yes. I think 2 of our officers were self-transported by one of our patrol officers, and the third was from HFD.
Can you tell us about the condition of the person that was carjacked? How's that person doing?
I hadn't heard any injuries on that, and we hope that's the case, but we'll follow up with you on that because I don't know at this time. One person over there, I can't see through the lights. Go ahead.
Same question. Did you find other weapons inside the Charger?
That's part of the investigation, and at this point, I don't know right now. That scene's still active. Go ahead.
Were some areas evacuated because of the danger?
I'm pretty sure that that's a residential area out there on Lockwood, and that's what we do. We try to evacuate everybody around there, keep them safe.
Can you describe the suspect's knowledge of the home he's barricaded in? Is that a home that he knows?
I'm not sure. I just can tell you it's a single residence home, a 1-story, I think. Yeah. I don't have any suspect information right now. Nothing confirmed. Okay.
Was there anybody in the home when he went into that home?
I did get some reports that there were some residents in the home, and they ran out when he came. But we don't believe it's anybody in there right now but the suspect. But we need to confirm that.
So no potential hostages?
Not at this time. Any more questions?
Was the Lockwood address like a random place that he went to, or did he go there for?
I'm not sure. Yeah, not sure, Randy. Thanks.
This callous disregard for the law, for law enforcement, the lives of law enforcement, what do you attribute that to?
Hey, who knows? But I know one thing, Randy. We need to address it, and we need to deal with those individuals. And one thing that people miss sometimes, it's not most of our citizens. It's a small group of individuals that's committing havoc. Our city is a great city with great people in it, and we're gonna stand up for them, and we're gonna find out a way to deal with those very few, very violent individuals. So thanks for that question.
Chief, could you let us know about the ranks of the officers injured?
Everybody is I'll give you the
3, 4, and 5 years.
3, 4, and 5 year. They all officers from Northeast. Thanks for asking.
So because they continued to, participate in the shootouts after they were already injured.
Let me tell you something, and that's what people need to understand about the great men and women on our police department. You have some brave officers that put their line on the line every day, and I'm proud of them. And make no mistake about it, we release videos, and citizens are gonna see the fight in them when they have to fight.
So the mayor, you said that you're going to announce some initiatives next week. Are you talking to other cities? Because you know that this is happening across the country.
It is happening across the country, but I would tell you I'm primarily concerned about what's happening in the city of Houston. Over the last week and a half, Chief Fenner and I and others have been talking about additional steps that we intend to take to protect the people in this city and to make this city safer. A more comprehensive approach. Quite frankly, that was going to be laid out this week, but so much has taken place this week. So we will unfold those initiatives next week. But the crime in this city is too high. Okay. And it is important that we do everything on our part at the city to combat that. Now, even everything that we will announce next week need to be augmented and supplemented by other levels. We have way too many cases that are backlogged criminal cases, over 100,000. That's unacceptable. Okay. So there are many additional things that need to take place. But in terms of what the city can do, we will lay out those additional steps that we intend to take next week. I do want to acknowledge Doug Griffin, head of HPOU, and thank him and the union for their collaboration all throughout this. But those initiatives will be announced on next week.
All right, that's it. Okay, one more, and we'll let Chief, you want to translate for us? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Where did it start? The street that it started, and it was around 3 o'clock, right?
Yeah, 2 o'clock, Trolley Street.
Trolley Street.
Okay. Yeah, Trudy. Yeah. That's it.
Bueno, buenas tardes. Mire, estamos aquí para informar a nuestra comunidad que esta tarde, más o menos como a las 3 de la tarde, comenzó los policías, el departamento de policía, a seguir un sospechoso. Comenzó en la calle Trolley y llegaron hasta la calle McGowan y Hutchin, donde el carro chocó. El sospechoso que estaban siguiendo salió del vehículo y comenzó a disparar contra los policías. Fueron 3 los policías que fueron heridos. Los policías tienen 3, 4 y 5 años en la fuerza del departamento. Ahorita están en condición estable y como dice el jefe de policía Troy Finner y el alcalde Sylvester Turner, están muy orgullosos. Todos estamos muy orgullosos del trabajo que hicieron en el departamento de policía hoy para poder contener esta emergencia. Ahorita el sospechoso está barracado en una casa. Todavía es una escena que sigue comenzando en pie y esperamos que se resuelva bien y apropiadamente. Pero les podemos comentar que los policías están estables ahorita, esperamos que se recuperen a un 100%, pero queremos que la comunidad los tenga en su pensamiento y que recen por ellos y nuestra comunidad, que ahorita estamos viendo mucho crimen en esta comunidad. El alcalde también quiere comunicar que está incluyendo recursos apropiados para aumentar los elementos de policía para poder combatir este crimen que estamos viendo en nuestra comunidad y él está poniendo de su parte para poder hacer lo que se tiene que hacer para que la ciudad de Houston esté bien y segura.
Let me just say, I also appreciate the president and the executive director of the African American Police Officer League being present as well.
Okay. Thank you all. All right.
Thank you all.
Thanks for being here.
That was an update from Chief Finner and Mayor Turner on the shooting of 3 officers and an ongoing standoff with the suspect. You can see all the flashing lights in the live shot here. Mayor Turner says all 3 officers' injuries are non-life threatening. 1 officer shot in the foot, 1 in the leg, 1 in the arm. All are in good spirits.
As for that standoff, it continues right now on the 5th floor. Let's go to Melissa Correa. She's there live. Melissa?
Hey there, Len. As night is falling, the most we can make out at this point are the red and blue flashing lights from law enforcement vehicles posted throughout the intersection of Lyons and Lockwood. I can tell you, folks, since we joined you last during KHOU 11 News at 5, that HPD's bomb squad and SWAT team have moved in even more tactical gear, including a newer device called the Rook. From what we saw here at Public Vantage Point, it looks as though it provides a shield, and it also moves or maneuvers like a bulldozer and a forklift. Police Chief Troy Finner talked about those ongoing negotiations with the suspect identified by the state's largest police union as Roland Caballero. It's the police union that confirms on social media that Caballero was shot in the neck. Police are now confirming he's holed up inside a single-story home somewhere here in the 5th Ward on Lockwood. Authorities aren't giving too many more details, and of course, for strategy, an HPD chopper is hovering overhead. That's why Air 11 is not providing a live picture of this scene here for maneuver reasons and all of those sorts of things. We want to make sure that these officers are absolutely safe as they continue to negotiate with this man. Federal agents down to Harris County County Constable deputies are here. They are suited up. Some of them at some points this afternoon have their guns drawn, and all of them have their bulletproof vests on. The staging area for those law enforcement officers are here at Lyons and Lockwood. Police did an excellent job, I can tell you, rapidly clearing the scene. A Chase Bank and 2 pharmacies here on this intersection. An elementary school and a high school are just blocks away. Okay, so this is what's happening right now. This standoff with this man suspected of shooting 3 Houston police officers. A live photo from Air 11 and some live pictures there in the 3rd Ward, about a 4-mile drive from where we are here at Lyons and Lockwood, is going to detail what happened earlier this afternoon. And that's the new information that we're getting now. Just before 3 this afternoon, some Houston police officers got a call about a disturbance at a Houston home. Well, a guy, as soon as the cops showed up, police say, jumped into a car and police had to give chase. As soon, police say, as the guy turned onto Hutchins at McGowan, he crashed his vehicle. Police say he flung open his door, and officers on the ground told the police chief they believe a fully automatic weapon was used to shoot and hit 3 Houston police officers. Thankfully, they're being treated at the Texas Medical Center this evening, and we're told conditions are stable as far as that much is concerned. But a wild scene about 4 miles away. We're hearing from a witness who spoke to KHOU 11 earlier this afternoon. Listen to what he told us today. Okay, we don't have that sound up. We do not have that sound up available. This is an active scene as we're continuing to cover multiple scenes throughout the Houston area. An investigation is happening there at McGowan and Hutchins as police exchanged gunfire with this man that a Texas police union is identifying as Roland Caballero. He is now holed up, according to Houston's police chief, at a home along Lockwood, not far from Lyons. Houston police are telling us perhaps when this scene is clear that we'll get a media briefing here on scene in the 5th Ward. You know, to go back to what Mayor Turner just said earlier this evening, we are living in a dangerous time. 3 Houston police officers shot attempting to respond to a disturbance at a home. This is coming days after a Harris County corporal was shot and killed during a traffic stop. At the very least tonight, prayers for police and the hope that all of these authorities here on scene make it home safe and sound.
Work, and we are hoping for all of them to head home safe tonight. Melissa Correa, thank you. The injured officers were taken to Memorial Hermann Hospital. David Gonzalez joins us now live in the Texas Medical Center with more on their conditions. David.
Hey, we just finished talking to Mayor Sylvester Turner, who wants the whole community to pray for these 3 officers who were shot this afternoon in 3rd Ward. He said that one officer was shot in the foot, another officer was shot in the arm, and the other one in the leg, all luckily suffering non-life-threatening injuries. We've learned that those 3 officers are each a 3, 4, and 5-year veteran of this force. And just seconds ago, they told us that we can expect the names of those officers to be released around or just before 10 o'clock this evening. But they're telling us that the mayor met with all 3 officers individually and that they're all in good spirits, which is good news. And they're talkative. The mayor says that he thanked them for their service and that he says this could have been a lot worse because, as we've mentioned, it's been a very sad and deadly week for law enforcement here in Harris County. He says that this is not only a tough week for law enforcement, but it's a tough week for the city of Houston and also Harris County. He says that being in law enforcement right now is inherently a very dangerous job.
several police officers, a lot of law enforcement in that area. And that's interesting that we're focusing on this because sort of farther down the street, there's a lot of crime scene tape. And we're wondering how these sort of two scenes are situated and how they're connected. Hoping sooner than later that we get some official word from law enforcement about what exactly happened here. Of course, if your afternoon, evening commute, is along the Midtown area or in the Midtown area, I'm obviously suggesting you should maybe find an alternate route today. Anytime we have, especially a scene like this, it's going to take a long time to process it. It's going to cause closures and delays. So avoid this part of Midtown near McGowan if you can. And as we've been saying, it's been a violent week for law enforcement. 2 peace officers have lost their lives in the line of duty earlier this week. And again, we know that these 3 HPD officers were shot, but we don't know how bad their injuries are. And of course, we're hoping and praying for the best here as we see, again, a strong police presence. There's a lot of crime scene tape. It looks like, again, a lot of folks gathering there. The situation doesn't look emergent right now. Again, maybe trying to process the scene, get some more details, obviously, talk to witnesses, crime scene markers on the ground. As you can see, several patrol cars, lots of yellow tape there. They want to make sure that they kind of cast a wide net here and take a look at everything as we try to get new details as to what happened. All of this breaking now, 3:47 on a Thursday afternoon, and we've been following this for the last several minutes. But again, still trying to figure out what led up to all of this, if this was a traffic stop or something else.
Yeah, you're right, Rick. And when you look at this area, you mentioned it's a lot of townhomes in that area. I've pulled it up on a map here. There's a number of communities within that vicinity of McGowan and St. Emmanuel Street. Again, to recap, 3 HPD officers have been shot. The suspect fleeing the scene in a white Mercedes and is being sought. As you can imagine, at this time, they're asking people to avoid this area, and certainly a heavy police presence now. But again, it's worth noting that, again, this is an area that has a lot of residences as we are looking here, as you can see from Air 11.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the map now, which is in the box on the left, where it's pinpointed, so we're talking McGowan Street near Emancipation Avenue, a lot of homes there, a lot of warehouses there. Again, a lot of people, sometimes if you're heading out of downtown, you're kind of cutting through this area. If you have to get around traffic on, either 45 or 59, especially when that junction right here, when you hit 288. So this gets to be really busy, especially in the morning and the evening. So again, if you are looking at this from a traffic standpoint, please avoid this area. You know that the scene is going to take several hours to be processed, and you know that they're going to want to make sure they get every little piece of evidence and whatever they need to know exactly how all of this happened and how 3 HPD officers were shot in this situation. I'm going to see if our producers, anything else new coming in? Is there any more information that we're getting at this time?
We did see earlier, some of the video we had shown earlier, there was some evidence markers on the street. One had the number 2 on it. And again, 3 HPD officers shot. The suspect is still on the loose. We have not gotten any information if there is a chase going on or if they are actively, if they know exactly where this person went or who was involved. Again, that information we have not gotten into the newsroom at this time. As you can see, a lot of police tape. You see the freeway, the highway behind this staging scene where this took place. And again, this is McGowan Street in the Midtown area. And as we approach 4 o'clock, normally we would probably see quite a bit of traffic in and around this area.
So we understand now again that the 3 officers who were shot, they were taken to Memorial Hermann Hospital. Again, their conditions are unknown. Memorial Hermann in the medical center, typically where officers are taken if they've been harmed or injured or shot in incidents like this. This is the 3rd ward. And again, this is kind of right in the middle of our city. This is the Midtown area, McGowan Street near Emancipation Avenue, the 2100 block of McGowan Street to be exact. All we know about a suspect in this case is that a person fled in a white Mercedes. If you saw a little earlier, Air 11 was focusing on a Dodge Charger that had its hazard lights on. And there was a patrol car also there. It looked kind of abandoned. So we are trying to piece all of this together to understand exactly how this came to be. But again, the suspect, we've been told, has fled the scene. And it looks like right now, officers in this specific area are just trying to lock everything down.
As you can see there, some shattered glass in that patrol vehicle. The passenger side door is open. You can see the broken glass. We're going to clarify, this is more the 3rd ward area. If you're not familiar with this area, maybe you've driven by Emancipation Park. It is within a couple of blocks of this scene based on the map I'm looking at. But again, right there, there is the scene that police tape is surrounding a gray Charger or Mustang, it appeared to be. Now I see a much wider shot. But all we know right now about this suspect is that white Mercedes, and it left this scene.
It looks like we have someone on the phone right now. Stephen Henson?
Yes, this is Stephen.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Can you tell us what you saw?
So I was working from home. I was working in my kitchen, and then it sounded like there was some type of crash down the road. And all of a sudden, I started hearing popping noises. I didn't think it was a gunshots, but then all of a sudden, it started getting closer, and it sounded about 50 rounds went off, and I jumped on the floor because I went over to the window, and I saw the officers running down. And then I realized that there was an officer down right in front of my townhouse. So this happened right in front of the townhouse on Hutchins Street.
Right in front of your townhome on Hutchins Street. Very scary. What were you thinking when you were kind of hearing and seeing all this happen in front of your home?
Well, I saw someone running past that wasn't an officer, and so I wasn't sure what was going on. But then right when I opened the door, pops went off again, and I just dove down because I just wasn't sure, what was going to happen. But yeah, it was just kind of surreal.
And the community you live in, is that a large community of townhomes or a smaller one? How would you describe it?
It's a large community. There's probably 60 or more townhomes in this community where this happened.
So, Stephen, you said you saw one officer on the ground?
Yeah, so there was an officer right on the ground. It looked like he got shot in the leg. I'm not 100% sure. It seemed like he was going to be okay, but that was on this street where majority of the officers were congregating.
And as you know, we've been told that 3 HPD officers were shot. Did you happen to get a look at the other 2 officers who were injured?
No, I didn't see any other officers that were injured that happened to be right on this street.
How long would you say it took for a response from fellow officers, after what you initially saw?
I mean, the response was pretty immediate. It seemed like they had been chasing him for a little bit, just for the amount of officers. But it took about 15 minutes for any EMS to arrive.
Yeah, I'm going to call it right now. I think I found the single biggest productivity hack of 2021. It's this Google Chrome extension called Speechify, and it literally does my reading for me.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big meeting starts in 10 minutes. Or you're cramming for an exam the night before, but can't bear to keep your eyes open to read one more textbook chapter. Or you're reviewing a dense legal document that could change your life forever. Or you're proofreading your thesis one last time before you submit it to make sure there aren't any errors. No matter what you have to read, we could all use a second pair of eyes to help us retain information and put our best foot forward. Enter Speechify, a reading assistant powered by artificial intelligence and deep learning, and designed consciously for students and working professionals who want to get more done. Speechify does the reading for you, so you can spend less energy reading and more energy comprehending. Choose your listening speed. Start at 230 words per minute and build to 500 words per minute, which is 2.5 times faster than most people read. Choose from a range of incredible voices that use human inflection, so you can stay engaged without getting tired. Don't have enough time to finish? Take your reading on the go with a single click. Best of all, Speechify is free. Click on the button to download now.
We're also being told that the suspect left the scene in a white Mercedes. Did you get a chance, or did you see that specific vehicle?
I did not see that specific vehicle. It seemed to have already passed at that point when I was looking out the window.
We're watching now from Air 11, and it looks like police officers have a lot of crime scene tape up. They've kind of pushed people back from the area. And since your townhome is in the middle of it, have they come and knocked on your door yet? Have they told you anything as far as, if your safety is of concern, if they're looking for anyone in the area?
It doesn't seem like they're looking for anyone in this community. The tape is, everything is pretty much blocked off by cars right in the middle where the tape is. But as far as safety concerns, just people talking to the officers, it doesn't seem like this area is an immediate safety concern.
Well, that's good to know. That's good for you guys and your neighbors, I should say. This area, this is Midtown. A lot of people, drive through here, especially during their evening commute. Is it typically, high traffic or busy in this neighborhood in front of your home?
It's this area is considered third ward. This is on the other side of 59. So this street, there's a lot of newer townhomes. So it's never safety has never been an issue. There's there's a large community of people that live around here, but it's never been a concern as far as safety goes. If you go a few more blocks, certain ways, it gets a little bit more concerning. But as far as this immediate area, it's a pretty safe place.
I know all of this has happened, and unfolded in the last few minutes. Around what time did you start hearing a lot of this unfold outside your home?
I was probably, let me see the time. This happened at least, as far as time goes, I'm trying to think, but this was about 30, 40 minutes ago. I could be off on that time. Everything happened so quickly, but in this area was swarmed by police officers, policewomen, and then pretty quickly. So.
All right, so maybe just after 3 o'clock today, because we're approaching 4 o'clock. So all of this happening in the last hour. have you had a chance, to text neighbors or talk to neighbors about what they saw and heard?
Yes. So we all heard the same thing. A lot of the people are working from home around here, and we all came up to we have rooftop decking, and so we all came up to the rooftop when it was right after it was happening, and we spoke. We all heard pretty much the same thing that I told you guys.
All right, Stephen Hinch, thank you so much. Anything else you can tell us that you saw or heard in the last hour?
I mean, everything I told you was pretty much what I heard and saw. So,
Stephen, thank you so much
Stephen
for talking to
Hinson,
us.
thank you so much for joining us here on KHO 11 News.
And glad you're safe and glad your
Yes.
neighbors are safe.
Yes.
So thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
So again, the situation is basically unchanged as far as an information standpoint, what we've been trying to work on. Very little right now coming out of Houston police. All we know is that there was a suspect in a white Mercedes. As you can see, a number of officers there still patrolling the scene. And I assume they are telling our cameras to step back a little bit. But again, right now, a lot of police tape, a lot of officers, and a lot of questions at this point.
Yeah, again, 3:58, and we're approaching about an hour since all of this first went down. That's according to the witness we just spoke to. But again, live look from Air 11 on the left, and then, of course, our camera on the ground in the 3rd Ward on the right, taking two very different looks at this wide scene here. It looks like it extends at least a block down, and still trying to figure out what happened and the circumstances that led up to 3 officers being shot and a suspect leaving the scene in a white Mercedes.
And Stephen, our witness there, brought up something very interesting, I thought. Because of the situation we are in during this time of COVID, a lot of people were at home, or a number of people, perhaps more than a normal Thursday afternoon in Houston, say 2 or 3 years ago. So certainly there is a lot to be thankful for, the residents in that community, that no one got hurt. Because when you consider the number of people who are now working from home compared to normal times, and I use normal in quotations, certainly a lot of people have a lot to be thankful for, that they weren't caught in the middle of something very serious.
As you know, here on KHO 11, we have been following several stories this week that it's been a violent week for law enforcement. We have lost 2 peace officers in just the last few days, and we have been following those stories separately. So a lot of nerves rattled when you hear that now 3 HPD officers have been shot, all 3 of them taken to Memorial Hermann in the medical center, still trying to learn about their conditions. And of course, we are hoping and praying for the best. We are now approaching the 4 o'clock hour here on the 411, and we've been with you for the last 20 minutes, bringing you this breaking news now. If you're just joining us, a live look from Air 11 after 3 officers were shot in the 3rd Ward. This is all unfolding on McGowan Street, and it is quite a wide scene there. I think it extends at least 1 to 2 blocks in the area. We've learned that 3 HPD officers were shot. We don't know the extent of their injuries, but we do know that they've been taken to the medical center for examinations. We know that there is a suspect in this case who apparently left the scene in a white Mercedes, but we don't know if there's an active search for that particular person or vehicle at this time taking place in another part of town. What we're looking at right now is a lot of patrol cars, a lot of units, a lot of police tape in the area as authorities, investigators take a look at what is now a crime scene. The good news here, though, is we don't see, at least from our vantage points, and Jason, I don't know if you do see it, but we don't see any emergency vehicles, ambulances. It looks like those who were injured in this scuffle or whatever unfolded here have been taken to the hospital. And right now they're just sort of locking down the scene and taking a look at what they're working with. But again, a heavy police presence in the 3rd Ward area after 3 HPD officers were shot during a week that has really rattled the law enforcement community.
It has, and we spoke with a neighbor in that neighborhood, Stephen Hinson, who lives in one of the townhome communities there. He says that the response was pretty quick. what he recalled was some sort of incident, loud noise, then a lot of shots. At about 3 o'clock, he saw one officer down, and then he said that it took about 15 minutes or so for medical personnel to arrive on the scene. And as you mentioned, we don't see the medical personnel there anymore. So my guess is they got those officers out of there as quickly as possible, and now becomes the investigation part. We see a lot of people there pointing, holding clipboards, notepads, and that kind of thing. And now this is part of what is happening next, along with finding this person involved. People telling me in my ear, yes, this suspect is still on the loose, and that is of I don't want to say grave concern, but certainly a concern for anyone who lives in that area or around that area. And it shows with all that police tape that we're seeing on your screen.
I guess the reassuring news here is that we just spoke with a witness in the area who lives in one of those townhomes, and he said all of this happened right basically outside his front door on that street there on McGowan. And he said that police officers haven't come by, knocked on his door, told him anything. So it appears to us that there's no immediate threat for neighbors in that area. So we hope that that little piece of information for folks who live in the 3rd Ward in this sort of, 2-3 block radius on McGowan between Emancipation, Crawford, you've got Elgin Street, and of course the Gulf Freeway on the north side. In this area, we hope that that puts people's minds at ease, because it doesn't appear to be an immediate threat, or at least it doesn't appear that they are looking for the suspect in that immediate area.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. When I meant area, general area, you're being a lot more specific. So that is certainly important to note.
If it wasn't for this program, I don't know where I'd be right now.
But again, the last update we received publicly from Houston Police was at around 3:30, which would have been about a half hour after this incident unfolded in the 3rd Ward. At least that is according to the witness, neighbor, Stephen Hinson, who spoke to us about 15 minutes ago here on KHO 11 News.
I'm wondering if we can pull up a shot, if we've got a camera on the ground outside the medical center now. There we go. So this is a live look now, our camera on the ground at the Texas Medical Center. In most of these situations, when an officer is injured, they are typically brought to Memorial Hermann Hospital. This is the hospital that typically treats law enforcement officers who are injured on the job. So we've got a camera there. We have that shot for just a minute. But as you can imagine, when these things happen, the law enforcement community rallies. You've got several officers and law enforcement personnel who head down to the hospital because they want to know how their brother or sister is doing, and they want to make sure and get updates from the hospital. So as you can imagine, as we're expecting to see, I should say, in the next hour or two, you're going to see quite a large crowd out there. And always, Chief Finner always heads down as well. So hopefully we'll be getting more information and possibly see the chief either at the scene first or down at the hospital. But again, 3 HPD officers shot this afternoon, taken to Memorial Hermann. Our witness that we spoke to, who lives in a townhome right along that street, told us that he did see one officer down on the ground who had been shot, but of course didn't know how badly the officer had been injured. He did see, though, several other officers come up and help that officer obviously get medical attention. So that is good news. But again, we are really just hoping and praying for the best after such a tough week for the law enforcement community here in the Houston area. As we've been following these stories, we've had Corporal Charles Galloway, who was killed or murdered, I should say, during a traffic stop. We have Harris County Sergeant Ramon Gutierrez struck by a suspected drunk driver earlier this week. This has been a heavy week for law enforcement. So this news here is not good. And it's hard to hear when you hear 3 more law enforcement officers who've been shot. But again, hoping for the best. And we don't know the extent of their injuries as we take a live look now at Memorial Hermann, where those 3 officers were taken.
And again, the suspect or the person involved is still on the loose, driving a white Mercedes. That was the last information provided to KHO, U11 News, and again, HPD, asking people to avoid that area in the 3rd Ward. We also saw a few minutes ago, the video on your screen before was a Ford SUV. The Ford SUV, the passenger side window cracked, shattered, if you will. And nearby, gray Dodge Charger, it looked like. So there is the SUV, the passenger door open, the front portion of that window smashed, and there appears to be perhaps some damage. Maybe when you look at some of the items that are on the ground there, I can't see for certain if there's damage to the front of that vehicle, but again, that picture, that video right there tells a story, not a good one, but hopefully officers are closing in on the person who caused this incident.
I'm going to ask our producers now if we've got a reporter on the ground. Of course, our cameras are there. We're set up at the scene, and we're set up downtown. But we do have reporters there, and I guess from what I'm hearing now, they are gathering information. We're taking a look at this shot right here, and you can see the glass right there on the passenger side of the patrol car is shattered. We know that that door is open. The driver's side door was open. There was some sort of scuffle. The neighbor who lives in that area, who watched a lot of this happen rather before sort of taking cover himself,
and heard it
as well. Heard a crash. He said he heard popping noises.
About 50 rounds, I think he estimated.
And he jumped he got down on the ground, he said, and then he kind of looked up again, and that's when he saw an officer on the ground and other officers running toward that officer to help the officer who was on the ground. So all of this happened within a matter of minutes, and just after 3 o'clock, according to our witness. So we've been following this now for several minutes now, just after the 4 o'clock hour, 4:08. And as you can see, that scene is going to be processed for quite a while. A lot of yellow tape, a lot of evidence markers. They've got a lot to go through because that scene definitely stretches a block, if not 2 blocks, in the 3rd Ward area.
And if you're not familiar with that area close to the East Tex Freeway, Emancipation Park is probably a couple of blocks from this scene. And as you can see, there is that gray vehicle. The windshield wipers are on. And yes, it is a Charger, gray Charger. And I think we're now back at the medical center.
I think we have Zach Tawatari, a reporter on the ground. Can we go back to the scene if Zach is there and has some new information? Hi, Zach.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, yeah, that's right. We're here at the corner of Charles and McGowan. We just got here moments ago, and I want to step out of the way so that you can take a look at this very active scene. You can see multiple HPD cars and other presumably officials' cars, authorities' cars over there on the left side of the road. Ever since we got here, we have seen people coming out of these apartments. We've seen people coming out of other buildings, looking around, curious to see what happened, and a lot of yellow tape and a lot of officers down there. We saw them gathered in front of that white building to the right down there. The first one that you see, it looks kind of like a warehouse just a few minutes ago. Now they've kind of reconvened towards the middle of the street. This street obviously completely blocked off. We're on the overpass here. And as we get more information, we will, of course, bring it to you as soon as we can.
Zach, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, I know that you just got to the scene and everything is being processed. And of course, in situations like this, they try to keep the media and other people back, of course, for our safety. You mentioned, obviously, a lot of townhomes in the area, a lot of neighbors coming out to see what's going on. From your vantage point, does it look like there is a sort of an urgent, that people are urgently looking for a suspect in that area? Or does it look like more they're just trying to lock down the scene?
It looks right now like they're trying to lock down this area. We know that those according to HPD, 3 officers shot, and that suspect, like you said, still on the loose in a white Mercedes, I think it was, according to that HPD tweet. And right now, like we were saying, this area looks like they're trying to lock it down. It doesn't necessarily look like they're frantically running around looking for a suspect or anything like that. But we are hoping to be able to talk to some of these neighbors, some of the people who are around here, maybe anyone who may have seen this situation, so that we can give a little bit more information coming up here.
Absolutely. Zach Tawatari, thank you so much. I'm wondering, we did see our reporter David Gonzalez pop up outside the hospital. Is it possible to check in with him? All right. David Gonzalez live at the Texas Medical Center where the officers were taken. David, what have you learned?
Rick, as you can imagine, the scene is very active out here as well. And it's the response you would expect after a tragic situation like this one where officers are shot. I'm going to step aside and kind of show you. We have HPD officers showing up to the scene as we speak. They're flooding the area outside of Memorial Hermann Emergency Room. From where we're standing, we could actually tell you that we have spotted Chief Troy Finner here at Memorial Hermann, as well as some of his public information officers. And this is usually the area when something like this happens, where they'll, after they gather information, talk to families, they'll come out and give us an update. From where we're standing, I can tell you that a lot of police activity out here, a lot of officers showing up to the scene to check on these officers that, as we've mentioned, were shot over in the McGowan Street area of 3rd Ward. From where we can tell right now, we see officers gathering under the awning where ambulances would arrive. I spoke to my photographer here on the scene who got here before me. He said he didn't see the ambulance arrive for himself, but we can expect that they're already here. Those officers hopefully being treated as we speak. But we did spot Chief Troy Finner here at Memorial Hermann, and hopefully as soon as he gathers information as to the status and condition of these officers, he can pass that information along. But you can just tell the concern of officers when you hear of something like this happening in our city. The streets are flooded with police cars, and as I was making my way here, you could see police activity, officers making their way here as well. So if you are going to be traveling in the medical center area or near Memorial Hermann, just be careful, use caution, because a lot of police activity as officers with Houston Police and other agencies make their way here. Reka?
David Gonzalez, that's a really good point. The medical center is always busy. There's a lot of traffic there, really any time of day. And of course, now with 3 police officers at Memorial Hermann at the Med Center, traffic is definitely going to be blocked, rerouted. It's going to be tough getting in and out of there as we see more and more officers show up at the hospital to, see how their colleagues are doing. David Gonzalez, thank you so much, and let us know if and when you get that update, if anyone else can come out and give you some more information about the status of those 3 officers, because as we've been telling you, we only know that 3 HPD officers are shot, but we don't know how badly they were injured.
Yeah, and right now, another live look at the scene of this incident. Very interesting that earlier today, or earlier, about an hour ago, this was just a normal day in this area. In fact, Stephen Hinson, who lives in the area, told us that safety has never been an issue for him in this area. Lots of townhomes, and you can imagine what it was like all of a sudden when you're not used to something like this happening in your area, because again, he said that safety had never really been an issue where he lives.
And like a lot of parts of Houston, this is an area that's developing as well. So while you do have townhomes, you have warehouses, you have businesses. So it's very different, as he was describing, 2 blocks over, east or west. So transitional in a lot of ways. But either way, he was saying he hadn't seen anything like this before. And I can imagine quite a scare for him and his neighbors as he described what he heard and saw. The crash, the popping noises of guns being fired, officers running down the street, very, very scary as neighbors kind of try to understand what just took place outside their front door.
And you bring up a good point. It is much like a lot of neighborhoods in the Houston area. There's a church nearby that area. There's a fitness center or a fitness facility. There's a clothing store, another church. It's a typical Houston neighborhood. And again, he mentioned to us, Stephen Hinson, that safety is never been an issue for him there.
Again, if you're just joining us, it is 4:16 on this Thursday afternoon, and we're following some very serious news after what has already been a very heavy week for so many folks in the law enforcement community. 3 Houston police officers have been shot and have now been taken to Memorial Hermann in the medical center. All of this happening in the 3rd Ward area on McGowan Street near Emancipation and Crawford. You see that when we were looking at the scene on the right, there is a lot of yellow tape. They keep blocking off and cordoning off these areas as the crime scene seems to stretch 1, 2, perhaps even 3 blocks. We saw reporter Zach Tawatari sort of on the other side, I believe, closer to 59 to the freeway and to the overpass there. And when we saw the image behind him, it was just a flood of patrol cars. And that is what happens when we have things like that. We're taking a closer look at this patrol vehicle, this SUV that seems to be in question, or at least a big major part of the scene. This and a nearby Dodge Charger that is actually up on the sidewalk several feet away. But all of this is going to take hours to process. And this is happening again at 4:17 in the afternoon as the evening commute is going to pick up. So if you are in the 3rd Ward area, or if this is an area that you drive by or drive through to get home or get where you need to be, a good idea to avoid it today. And the same thing goes for the Texas Medical Center, which is already a busy place with a lot of traffic. So many more patrol cars, law enforcement show up. They are checking on their colleagues. So they want to get down to Memorial Hermann and see what's going on. We understand that Chief Troy Finner has already been down to the hospital there, or is currently there right now, as David Gonzalez, our reporter, was saying. So you're going to see traffic be even more congested in the medical center area. So avoid those 2 spots as you can, because it's going to be a while as all of this is being processed. As you can see, nearby roads are being blocked off. If you look at that picture on the left, I'm counting at least a dozen, if not more,
Enrica,
law
looks
enforcement
like
officers there.
Yeah, Enrica, it looks like we're now getting some information on those officers. Can you just say it in my ear one more time? According to police sources now, 1 critical and 2 stable. Do I have that correct? So 1 critical and 2 stable. That is according to police sources. Police sources telling KHO 11 News. Our last official update, if you will, from Houston Police was at around 3:30. And since then, as you can imagine, it's been all about the investigation and then finding and figuring out where the person involved is. Last information we had, that person fled in a white Mercedes. But again, that is the information now up to date from police sources that of the 1 officer is in critical condition and 2 are in stable condition.
We still haven't found out or learned how these officers were shot. We know that this has been a really tough week for law enforcement in our area, a violent week. Earlier this week, Harris County Sergeant Ramon Gutierrez was struck by a suspected drunk driver. Corporal Charles Galloway was murdered during a traffic stop. So we don't understand the circumstances right now that have led up to this, to having 3 HPD officers in the hospital. But as Jason was just saying, the newest information that is coming from our KHOU sources is telling us that 1 officer is in critical condition. The other 2 officers are stable. And that is all we know so far. We don't know where these officers were shot, how many times they were shot. But all we do know is that that scene in the 3rd Ward is quite extensive. There are a lot of investigators and officers at that scene, and you can see police officers on the corner there. You know that they're going to be talking to neighbors, witnesses. They want to get the full story and figure out what exactly happened that led to 3 officers being shot and taken to the hospital.
All right, meantime now, let's go to Lyons and Lockwood. This is a from Air 11. We have just been told by police that this scene is connected to the previous scene that we have been talking about. So this is Lyons and Lockwood near 5th Ward. this again is an area that is a lot like a number of Houston areas. There are restaurants, a drugstore, and similar businesses in the area. But again, this is Lyons Avenue and Lockwood Drive. And again, police are now telling KHOU 11 that this scene, what you are seeing here from Air 11, is connected to the one in the 3rd Ward. I see 1, 2, maybe 3 marked police cars. And in the middle there are a couple of vehicles that are in the middle of the street, but at a different kind of angle. So 2 black vehicles. And as we see now, an SUV coming in with its lights on. But this is Lyons and Lockwood. And again, we are now being told that this scene is connected to the one in 3rd Ward.
You see a fire truck there. Again, the only thing we know about the suspect is the suspect fled the scene in a white Mercedes. And if you were looking at the original scene in the 3rd Ward, and as we heard from our reporter on the ground, Zach Tawatari, it looked like they were just putting everything on lockdown. There was no urgency there. They were not looking and knocking on doors and looking for a person in the area. So the suspect was not there. It's possible that this is an area where the suspect could be, or maybe they got a tip as to where the suspect might be in this area. It's just a few miles from the 3rd Ward. We're talking about what, Greater 5th Ward here. So Lockwood and Lyons. When we were on air earlier, when this news first broke, we actually spoke to Stephen Hinch, who lives, or Hinson, excuse me, who lives in that neighborhood in the 3rd Ward. His townhome, front and center, and got front row seat to everything that unfolded there. As he said, right outside his front door. Let's listen to what he had to tell us about what he saw and heard.
So I was working from home. I was working in my kitchen, and then it sounded like there was some type of crash down the road. And all of a sudden, I started hearing popping noises. And then I didn't think it was a gunshots, but then all of a sudden, it started getting closer. And it sounded about 50 rounds went off, and I jumped on the floor because I went over to the window. And I saw the officers running down, and then I realized that there was an officer down right in front of my townhouse. So this happened right in front of the townhouse on Hutchins Street.
You can imagine how scary it was for Stephen Hinson and his neighbors. He mentioned that, of course, in these townhomes, you typically can sometimes go up to the roof. He said that he went up there, and that's kind of how he got in touch with his neighbors, and they all started talking about what they saw and heard. Obviously, in this pandemic, so many people working from home, so many people got to see and hear what happened. And thankfully, Stephen Hinson and his neighbors are safe. And as he said, they aren't necessarily looking for the suspect in that area. So that is something that is reassuring to folks who live in the 3rd Ward on McGowan Street. But again, scary stuff, as you heard him describe what happened.
No doubt. And Lyons and Lockwood, we have been told by police that the vehicle of interest is a white Mercedes. Now, we're looking at Lyons Avenue and Lockwood Drive on the left portion of your screen. That is the newer scene, crime scene, if you will, or scene that is of interest. And certainly there is no white Mercedes that we can see from this vantage point. On your right, that is the original scene in the 3rd Ward, where we believe this started at about 3 o'clock. And again, 3 officers are at the hospital right now, 1 critical and 2 stable. And again, police telling people to avoid that area. And I imagine that they would probably want people to avoid this other area as well.
We want to get right now to another witness. Danielle Young is on the phone with us. She is in the 5th Ward in that scene that Jason was just telling you about. That's in the box on the left-hand side. Danielle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Danielle, are you in a safe area?
Yeah, we in our backyard watching the whole thing.
What's the whole thing? Tell us what you're seeing.
Okay, so when so this is how it started. We was at home, not at home. We was at my sister's school getting my sister. We saw the choppers, and we saw on the news that it was about the officers. And so we was looking, and we was like, why so many police choppers? So we started heading home. Tell me why we see them blocking from I-10 all the way down to our house. It took us 30 minutes to get home. And so And right now, we are literally looking at them live. Are they loading themselves up with guns and weapons? And we just looking.
You said they are loading themselves up with guns and weapons.
Yeah, we saw 3 of them. Look like SWAT right here. We saw 3 of them putting on AR.
Wow. You know, they're looking for a suspect who they say took off from the original scene in the 3rd Ward in a white Mercedes. Any chance you see a white Mercedes in the area?
We gotta walk out there. Well, we just we're right. We don't want to walk out there, but
Sure.
yeah, it's all over here.
How many officers, Danielle, would you estimate are in your area?
It's like 100 of them, because you also got some still pulling up in unmarked vehicles.
Sure.
Have police officers come to the home? Have they warned you to stay inside, stay back, anything like that? Any warning from law enforcement on the ground there?
No, but they tell the others who keep coming closer to get back. My brother said there was one woman in a car who tried to go through, and they forced her back to back up out and leave.
Wow. All of this unfolding right there. Are you nervous for your safety? Are you worried about what's happening there?
No, that's typical.
Okay. Well,
calm and cool.
Calm
All right.
and cool, yes.
This typical stuff that happens around here.
Well, please be safe, and we appreciate your testimony and telling us what you saw and what you heard and what is happening at the scene right now. Thank you, Danielle.
So some more pulling up now.
Oh, what are you
They
seeing?
all walking in the street. They in the street now. Metro's blocked, and you got the school around here that can't. I don't think them kids can get home because where we stay at, it's a lot of kids on our street.
Yeah, Danielle, you know, it's a neighborhood. I'm sure there are kids, people outside walking around. It's a nice day, so, you know, folks are out there at the bus stop.
People were forced out of their cars. Some people getting out their cars and moving out the way.
I'm going to ask Danielle, stay on the line with us. I'm going to ask our directors if we can just pull up and make this image the biggest image, the Air 11 image, because we're watching some stuff happen there. All right, thank you. So we're taking a closer look now. Danielle, we understand that there's some sort of standoff with someone there. Are you seeing that directly? I know you mentioned you saw law enforcement, so you're watching it.
Yeah, right here, chilling, looking, leaning on my good watching.
And which school is nearby?
You have Atherton Elementary, and it's like, right, you go a little further towards, it's like literally right next to the park. So where we stay at is 5 minutes from Lockwood.
Wow. I'm assuming, though, that school is out right now. Is that correct? Or
it just got out.
Just got out. Okay. So are there a lot of kids walking around trying to get home?
There were a lot of kids alive out here. Now they all going the other way and stuff. So we just looking.
All right.
It's kind of interesting to watch.
Sure it is. Danielle Young, be safe, and thank you for telling us what you had been seeing. Thank you so much. In the meantime now, we will go live to Zach Tawatari, who is back near the original scene in the 3rd Ward. Zach, are you there? What new can you share with us?
Yeah, Jason. I got you. We did see just a few moments ago ATF showing up to this scene. We're at Charles and McGowan, and I want you to take a look at that sea of police cars, flashing lights, other authorities, officials. You see a lot of detail over there, and you can just see officers gathered in the middle of the road there. They were over next to that white building a little bit earlier, now have moved to the middle of the road. You know, we hear you talking to several of those witnesses. We have seen people, you know, coming out of these townhomes, coming out of some of these apartments and these buildings as they continue to try and figure out what's going on out here, because like you can see, this is such a huge scene. We do know that there's, of course, that other scene going on, where officers are in a apparent standoff with what we believe is the suspect. And we know, of course, that 2 of those HPD officers in stable condition and 1 in critical. So we will continue to monitor this scene and continue to bring you any of the latest info as it comes into us or as we see it out here.
Thank you so much, Zach. You are at the original scene where all of this happened, as we are also simultaneously watching from Air 11 that standoff that you mentioned. The suspect left that scene from the 3rd Ward, and apparently there is an incident connected with that scene now in the 5th Ward, Lyons and Lockwood area. This is an area, as we just spoke with a woman who's actually watching all of this, a witness there, Danielle, watching this standoff and this scene happen. This is a neighborhood. School just got out in the area. A lot of people walking around on the streets here. So very scary as police are navigating a standoff with so many people out and about today on this Thursday at 4:31 now, as we're watching all of this happen again near Lyons and Lockwood in this area. There is a Walgreens in that area, a school in that area. So we're keeping an eye on this scene. And this is kind of where we're seeing the most action, but also several law enforcement officers heading down to the Texas Medical Center. That is where the 3 Houston police officers who were shot were taken. Let's go now to David Gonzalez, who is outside. David, any updates?
Reka, according to police sources, we have found out that the conditions of these officers, we've learned that one of the officers is in critical condition and the 2 other officers are in stable condition. And it's a very active scene here at Memorial Hermann, right outside of the emergency room. From where we're standing across the street, we have spotted Chief Troy Finner here. We currently do not see him right now, so we can only assume that he's made his way into the hospital. But we can spot other members of the Houston Police Department, including members of the Public Information Office, as well as other leadership members. But it's a very active scene out here. Since we've been here the last 20-25 minutes, we have spotted a continuous flow of police officers and other members of other law enforcement agencies make their way here, including members of the Houston Fire Department. Of course, they're all wanting to know the condition of these officers. But according to Houston police sources, we have found out that 1 officer is in critical condition and 2 other officers are in stable condition. But as we've mentioned over and over, traffic is still flowing out here. There's people driving by and some onlookers are slowing down, just trying to figure out what's happening as media congregates across the streets. And you see just a whole bunch of Houston police officers. Right now, we just got an update in my ear. We're hearing some good news, and hopefully it's good news, is that those 3 officers are all in stable condition. So we could report that right now, according to Houston police sources. But as you can see in your screen right now, you could see Houston police officers continue to show up here at Memorial Hermann. And we also just found out that Chief Troy Finner will be providing a live update for us on the condition of these officers. Many people wondering how they're doing, where there were shots, and possibly some more information as to what led to the shooting at near Chartres and McGowan there in the 3rd Ward. But as we've mentioned over and over and over, if you're going to be traveling in this area, please be mindful, because officers are trying to get to this area to check on their fellow officers. And as soon as we see Chief Finner make his way over here, we'll cut in and try to give you guys a live update. Rake and Jason.
All right. David Gonzalez live at the Texas Medical Center. Thank you so much. We are watching 2 scenes right now, but there are 3 that are unfolding. On the left is kind of where we're seeing the most action. We believe that officers may be closing in on the suspect who left the original crime scene. This is in the 5th Ward. You can see kind of focusing on that area near Walgreens. The cross streets here, Farmer and Lockwood in this area. So this is one of those scenes where police, we're seeing a lot of police activity. They're asking folks to stand back. They're asking folks to go inside their homes, because it is also a neighborhood as well. We just spoke with a witness who was telling us there's a lot of police presence on the ground. They are putting on, bulletproof vests. They are grabbing firearms, and they are marching out to a scene out there. So there's a lot of activity happening right here. Again, a busy area. Avoid this area in the 5th Ward if you can. The original crime scene over in the 3rd Ward, that is the other area off of McGowan Street that folks are being told to avoid as well. That has popped up now in the box on the right. Lots of crime scene tape. They're going to be there a while processing this scene. This is a neighborhood area, but again, it's a busy area. People kind of cut through this area of the 3rd Ward on McGowan near Hutchins. It's just off the East Tex Freeway, and the evening commute is going to pick up very soon, so avoid this area as well. And a third spot, the Texas Medical Center. That is where you're going to see dozens, if not hundreds, of law enforcement officers gather. They want to know how their brothers or sisters or both in blue are doing. 3 officers are shot. 1 is in critical condition. 2 are stable. And as we heard from our reporter, David Gonzalez, we're hoping to hear from Chief Troy Finner, who is at Memorial Hermann right now, to get a better understanding of the extent of their injuries. How badly were these officers injured? Again, after a week that has been weighing heavy on the hearts of law enforcement, not the news that you want to hear and see on this Thursday.
And Reka, you've been mentioning about the traffic in the area and to stay out of these areas. Let's now go to KHO 11 traffic analyst Junior Caruso. So Junior, how are these scenes impacting the drive home from what you can tell?
Well, from what I'm seeing, a lot of the major roadways that are around both of the scenes are backed up and moving slower than normal. And so heading towards the first scene near McGowan, that's what we're looking right now. This is inbound on the East Tex. Traffic is moving slow. Like I said, this is heading towards McGowan, that first scene. Traffic is backed up to the East Freeway. And then at the East Freeway, we're seeing traffic backed up to Lockwood, which is where that second scene is. And so the delays in the area right now are about 20 to 30 minutes, no matter where you're heading. And then inbound on 288 is also getting backed up, and we're seeing delays to alternate 90. So that is moving slow as well. If you can avoid any of those areas in any way, you're going to have to try to, but the side roads are getting heavy too at the moment. So not really an easy way to get around this.
Definitely. So if you know somebody who's coming home this way, maybe drop them a text, say, listen, be patient. Here's what's going on. As long as you're safe, that's what's most important. Back now, looking live at the scene on the right. This is the one in the 3rd Ward. And then on the left, that is the scene in with the 5th Ward, which was Lyons and Lockwood. Again, describing this area, there's a couple of drugstores in that area. There's a fast food place. There's a bank, and of course a sandwich shop. So again, when we were looking at the scene Lyons and Lockwood before, we did see for the first time really some police presence behind that Walgreens. We had not seen that during our earlier video or coverage of the scene. We had not seen police presence behind the drugstore Walgreens, but I did see a vehicle earlier behind there as well as an officer walking those streets. So again, what is actually happening here? We're not sure. There was talk of a report, we were told, white Mercedes. As you can see on your screen, we don't see anything that resembles a white Mercedes. Now, could that car have been ditched? Of course it could have. But again, this is the scene right now that we are looking at.
It's really unclear right now if they are searching for someone on foot, if they maybe are searching for the actual vehicle that might be kind of parked in a hidden area. We have the witness who told us that there is a standoff happening in front of her, but it is very difficult to kind of see exactly where that's happening because there are a lot of trees. There are patrol cars up and down the street. They're asking people to stand back, but it's kind of unclear where that activity is centralized. So we've got this suspect standoff in this area, but to really get a good look at it, it's been kind of difficult. You have to understand that Air 11 is not the only chopper in the air. You've got police helicopters there as well. Obviously, that takes precedence. They've got to get eyes on the suspect and are, of course, helping out law enforcement who is on the ground. So we're watching all of this in that shot from Air 11, and I've seen, and Jason, I don't know if you've counted more, but I've seen 2 ambulances, obviously several patrol cars, a fire truck on standby there. So a lot happening right there, but we cannot see the specific scene or the standoff play out. The standoff that a witness in the area described as she was watching from her sister's backyard. It sounds like, though, we do have a reporter on the ground now, and this is great news. Melissa Correa is there now. Let's go to Mel and see. Okay. Is Mel there? Hi, Mel. Okay.
Hey there, Reka. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Tell us what you're seeing.
Okay, first of all, let me give you some perspective in the context of those two scenes. Initially, I was there at McGowan and Hutchins. About a 4-mile drive away from that scene led me over to this one in the 5th Ward. And what I can tell you right now is it looks as though things have calmed down since I first pulled up. I see law enforcement farther away from that scene under those trees there. But we still have, like you mentioned, Reka, a number of firefighters on the property, along with Harris County Precinct 1 deputies joining Houston police officers and DPS troopers in whatever effort was happening here at the scene. At least one ambulance has pushed a little bit farther down the street. If you are just joining us, this is happening in the 5th Ward at Lyons and Lockwood. A quick look at Google Maps shows this is just blocks away from Atherton Elementary and a few blocks more away from Wheatley High School. On either end of Lockwood, we have 2 pharmacies, which police hustled to clear the parking lots of, people being pushed back by blocks as authorities work to figure out what's happening here. I just checked in with Houston police via Twitter. They're telling us the information as far as those 3 Houston police officers who were shot. At this point, doctors have them stabilized, and Police Chief Troy Finner is going to be providing more information there from the Texas Medical Center. More information on a shooting involving 3 Houston police officers just hours after Houston police updated us on a deadly shooting of a Harris County corporal just a few days ago on Sunday. We are not seeing quite a few people at this scene as far as me being able to ask questions, ask people what they might have seen or heard, because it looks like police did an excellent job at moving people back. But again, at 5 this afternoon, it calls to mind just how dangerous of a situation perhaps this scene here at Lyons and Lockwood was. Not only were officers out here with bulletproof vests, some of the officers had tactical helmets on, others at some point had their guns drawn. And again, law enforcement seems to be pushed a little bit farther back from a situation that was playing out under that tree line there. But again, it looks as though they're all still working to gather information. Reka and Jason, we are too. Hopefully we'll get some more details from Police Chief Troy Finner. And as I toss it back to you, in that 4-mile drive from the 3rd Ward over to the 5th Ward, I happened to run into another police situation there at Lyons and Orange, where police had blocked off a few yards around a home. It's unclear if that at all is related to this. But quite frankly, a busy day for Houston police in the wake of 2 Harris County deputies killed just earlier this week, guys.
Absolutely. So much to process here, and really so many scenes, all of this happening really in the center of our city too, and affecting traffic as well. I guess the good news here is we're seeing from, I believe that's Melissa's camera on the ground there doesn't seem to be a real urgency right now, as if they're looking for someone. As she mentioned, and as our witness mentioned, Danielle, who talked to us by phone, was saying that she did see police officers put on tactical gear, grab more guns, put on bulletproof vests, but it appears right now they aren't actively looking and searching for someone who may be an immediate threat to the neighborhood. And that, of course, is very good because, as Melissa also mentioned, so many schools in the area, Atherton Elementary, Wheatley High School, McReynolds Middle School. Our witness, Danielle, who we talked to on the phone, said that school had just gotten out a few minutes ago. So all of these kids walking home, trying to get to activities, and the timing just couldn't be worse. But all of this looks like everything is sort of on lockdown now. They're kind of processing scenes, processing situations, getting a lay of the land and understanding what exactly is unfolding. All of this, of course, affecting traffic.
It is. And when you talk about the distance between these scenes, Melissa was right on. It's right about between 4 and 5 miles from the map on your left, where you see the 3 HPD officers shot and the suspect standoff, which is the video in the right-hand portion of your screen, the larger piece of video. Now, let's kind of rewind a bit and go back to the original incident in the 3rd Ward. Stephen Hinson, who lives in that neighborhood, told us what he heard and then the response from law enforcement.
The response was pretty immediate. They seemed like they had been chasing him for a little bit, just for the amount of officers. But it took about 15 minutes for any EMS to arrive.
So again, that was Stephen Hinson, who lives in that area and told us that safety has never been a concern of his in that area. There's a lot of townhomes in that community in the 3rd Ward, and he has told us that safety was never a concern. So imagine, again, 3 o'clock, he was in his house and he said he heard loud noises, and then what he estimated was to be about 50 rounds of ammunition. Now, where it all came from, that is what police will ultimately tell us at some point. Right now, obviously, their concern is with the officers who are being treated at the local hospital.
And our police sources have confirmed that one officer is in critical condition and 2 other officers are in stable condition. Oh, it looks like we're getting another update. Okay, this is great news. All 3 officers, HPD officers, are now in stable condition. That is great news. That is a great update. So 3 HPD officers shot. They are all in stable condition. And from what we understand, they are all still at Memorial Hermann in the medical center where they were taken. We know that one of the officers had 1 gunshot wound, but again, that officer is in stable condition. Don't know about the specific injuries, and where they were shot or how many times they were shot for the other 2 officers, but confirming that all 3 are stable. 1 officer sustained 1 gunshot wound and is currently in stable condition. So this is good news to hear and a great update for us, as initially we were reporting that 1 was in critical condition, but 3 officers, all 3 in stable condition. We know that Chief Troy Finner is down at the medical center talking to those officers, I'm sure talking to their families, trying to get a better idea of what unfolded, and hopefully we'll be making a statement sooner. And we're going to change that there. We're saying 1 officer critical, 2 stable, but we've now learned in just the last few minutes that all 3 officers are stable. So we'll go ahead and get that changed as well. In the meantime, this is quite a scene. We have got at least 3 confirmed scenes, all of this kind of being dragged out as far as where the police officers are, where the original scene is obviously, and now where a suspected standoff was happening, is happening. Very unclear with that information there. We know that Melissa Correa is on the ground in this latest scene, but again, as she said, and you could see from that camera, heavy police presence. And in cases like this, they push people back and the public back as far as possible because they want to keep folks safe. So that's why you can't really get too close to the scene because this is all still very active. But you've got a crime scene unit there. You've got folks in their, police officers in their bulletproof vests. Earlier, we saw, people putting on tactical gear. So obviously, there was a heavy police presence looking for the suspect. The suspect, it's been a minute since we've mentioned, the suspect took off from that original scene in the 3rd Ward in a white Mercedes. And that's all we know so far as the situation with who they're looking for. We don't have a suspect. We don't have a description of the suspect. Don't know if it was a man or a woman. Just know that a person took off in a white Mercedes. And also, as we backtrack even more, really unclear how all of this started. If it stemmed from a traffic stop, if it stemmed from a chase, we don't know exactly what happened. But sort of the good news here is that the 3 officers who were shot are now in stable condition, and that's really the best you could hope for in a situation like this, and the dangerous job that they face every day.
And again, on your map on the left, you see the bullet point with the 3 HPD officers shot. The scene that we had seen there earlier was a Ford SUV with the the passenger side window basically blown out. There is the vehicle. It is still there. There is now crime scene tape. Before that, we just saw the yellow tape, but now we do see this crime scene tape, as well as a gray Dodge Charger. So one would assume this is, again, one of the early portions of what happened here. And now let's go live to Zach Tawatari, who is near that scene. And Zach, do you have any new information? Have you been able to talk to anybody there?
Jason, been trying to get in contact with some of those witnesses. We've seen several people on the other side of this crime scene tape over here. As we continue to look over at this just sea of police cars, it does appear like this scene, nothing is really urgent right at this moment. We've seen officers gathered kind of just in the middle of the street. I have seen a number of officers walking along that back fence, past those police cars. So I don't know if their vehicles are over there or if they're looking for other clues, other pieces of information over that way. But again, we continue to monitor this scene because we don't exactly know what is happening on the other side of that crime tape right now. But like you said, this more towards the original scene where everything took place. And of course, we will continue to update you on any new information that we get.
Zach Tawatari live in the Third Ward. Thank you for being with us. Now back to the most recent scene, if you will. This is Lyons and Lockwood in the fifth ward.
Mhm.
And I'm now being told that we are headed to talk to David Gonzalez, who is outside Memorial Hermann Hospital. David.
Jason, right now, just off camera, we could spot Houston Police Public Information Officers setting up their tripod, setting up their equipment. That gives us a sign that Chief Troy Finner is going to be speaking to us, hopefully very soon, to give us an update. But via their Twitter, they let us know that those 3 officers injured in that shooting earlier this afternoon are all in stable condition, which is great news. Earlier today, we reported that one of those officers was in critical condition, but the latest update, they let us know that all 3 officers are in stable condition. Right now, they're organizing the media off to the side here. That means Chief Troy Finner is going to be making his way out here to give us a live update on the condition of these officers and maybe a better insight as to what happened at the scene there in Third Ward. But the scene out here of Memorial Hermann, right outside of the emergency room, of course, there's a lot of media, but there's also a lot of police officers, a lot of police units that have shown up to the scene. They rushed out here as soon as those officers were transported to the hospital to show their support for their fellow colleagues, but also to be here for everyone who is affected by this shooting. We have spotted when we got here about 40 minutes ago, we spotted Chief Finner under the bay doors where the ambulances arrive. We saw him go inside, and since then we've just seen a flow of officers and also members of other law enforcement agencies make their way here to Memorial Hermann to show their support for this agency that, of course, is hurting right now. But the latest update via their Twitter is that all 3 officers are in stable condition, and the media right now is getting organized to take hopefully a live update from Chief Troy Finner. We see members of his PIO office out here getting ready as well. So hopefully we get a signal that will happen. And as soon as I do, I'll pass that information along to you guys.
David Gonzalez live at the Texas Medical Center. The big news, David, as you were mentioning, is that now we are learning that all 3 officers are in stable condition. That is very good news for folks who have been following this. And again, after a really, really tough week for law enforcement in our area, after 2 peace officers were killed earlier this week. So good to know that they are on the mend, that they are in stable condition. And hopefully, as you said, hearing from a PIO soon to kind of get a better update of the injuries they sustained.
And the right-hand portion of your screen, that is still Lyons and Lockwood. That is Lyons Ave and Lockwood Drive. You see the Walgreens there. This scene really hasn't changed much in the past 30 minutes or so since we first brought this scene to you via Air 11. You see the fire truck there, number of law enforcement vehicles, and a lot of personnel standing around, and this scene has really not changed since we first showed it to you. Again, this is Lyons and Lockwood. There's a couple of drugstores in the neighborhood, a sandwich shop, a bank, and as we told you, and a witness told us that there's also 2 schools in that area. So when you consider the time of day, all of this was going down, it made for some very hectic moments, as you can imagine, for those who live in that area.
To kind of wrap things up for you and give you an idea of what we've been following, just after 3 o'clock this afternoon, we heard calls that 3 officers were shot in the Third Ward. The cross streets, McGowan near Hutchins Street, just off the East Tex Freeway. We were told that the suspect fled the scene in a white Mercedes. Again, 3 officers shot. We didn't know the extent of their injuries, but we now know that they are in stable condition. It didn't sound good for folks in that neighborhood. Speaking to one witness, Stephen Hinson, who lives in a townhome there, watching all of this unfold right outside his home, he said that he heard a popping noise, several gunshots, saw officers running down the street. And then those officers who were injured were taken to Memorial Hermann Zimmerman in the Texas Medical Center. That's where we saw our reporter David Gonzalez giving us an update there. Chief Troy Finner also at the Texas Medical Center visiting those officers and hopefully giving us an update and some more information in a few minutes. But then in the last about 20-30 minutes, another scene has unfolded over in the 5th Ward, just about 4 miles away from that original scene. We're talking Lyons and Lockwood. And that's where one witness was telling us that she was watching a standoff of sorts. Very difficult to get a really good idea of what was happening from Area 11 because we were up there, a lot of patrol cars, several ambulances, and a kind of a neighborhood area, kids getting out of school at the time. But as you can see, a heavy police presence there as we saw police officers with tactical gear and guns try to, what we understand, find the suspect in this case. But all of this happening after a tough week for law enforcement. Again, the good news, 3 officers in stable condition now.
That's it for the 411. Stay tuned for KHO 11 News at 5.
Health.
Hello, I'm Lynn Cannon. We are starting with breaking news, folks. There is a lot going on in a couple of locations. This afternoon, 3 Houston police officers were shot in 3rd Ward. And right now, officers are also at another location in 5th Ward.
I'm Mia Grady. A busy afternoon it has been. The scene in 5th Ward is an active one with heavy police presence and heavily armed officers, as witnesses described to us. That's because we understand the shooter is not in custody. I want to give you a better idea about these locations, where they are. Pulling up this map for you. Take a look first This is at McGowan Street near St. Emmanuel. This is where we understand the officers were shot. Now, this is just a couple of blocks away from Emancipation Park, if you're familiar with that landmark there in the 3rd Ward. And just a few miles away, all of this is from the scene happening in 5th Ward, that active scene with a massive showing of law enforcement.
And we're going to start. We've got team coverage for you tonight with reporters at Lyons and Lockwood. We have David Gonzalez at the hospital where the officers are, but we start with Zach Taratari, who's in 3rd Ward, the site of the shooting. Zach, what's the latest there?
Yeah, Len, near the 2100 block of McGowan, Charles and McGowan to be specific. This is where everything was said to have originally taken place. We got that tweet from HPD around 3:30 that 3 officers had been shot. A couple of things to note. There's a huge police presence here. You can see it, a flood of police, police detail. We saw an ATF car over there a little bit earlier. Just a ton of police presence here. One thing I want to tell you is that they were focused on that white building where it appears there's kind of like an outdoor parking lot surrounded by a chain link fence. We saw a lot of police going in and out of there a little bit earlier. Now they seem to be gathered in the middle of this street, and they do seem to be trying to talk to some of the neighbors who've been filing out of these homes, these buildings, and we are looking at this scene from the overpass of the highway here. As I mentioned, just a ton of police presence here. We do continue to try and talk to some of these neighbors that may have seen what went on, and we will, of course, continue to monitor this situation and bring you any updates as soon as we get them.
Zach, thank you. Now let's go to David Gonzalez. He's at Memorial Hermann Hospital on the condition of the officers. What are you learning, David?
Len, the good news from Houston Police is that all 3 officers appear to be in stable condition. I'm live right across the street from Memorial Hermann outside of the emergency room, and this is where those 3 officers were rushed after being shot in the 3rd Ward, and there's a huge police presence out here. We just see a continuous flow of officers making their way here, both in uniform and out of uniform, to try to get an update as to the condition of these officers. But via social media, Houston Police did post on Twitter not too long ago that all 3 officers were in stable condition. Right now, we can see that we are getting ready to get hopefully a live update from Chief Troy Finner, who is here at the hospital. We did see their public information office setting up, so that lets us know that hopefully here very soon we'll be getting a live update on the condition of these officers. But we've spotted a lot of people making their way out here. So if you are going to be in the Texas Medical Center, just be very careful and very mindful of the law enforcement presence out here, because they, of course, want to make sure that their brothers or sisters in blue are doing okay this evening after being shot in the 3rd Ward. I did speak with Memorial Hermann, and they let us know that Houston Police will give us a 20-minute heads up when Chief Troy Finner is ready to speak. I will pass that information along to you guys and bring you live updates as to what exactly happened in the 3rd Ward, but of course the condition of these 3 officers. Back to you.
From here, I'm sure Chief Finner has a lot of information to gather before he steps to that mic to give us an update, but very encouraging news there that the 3 officers are in stable condition. This is a live look right now over the scene in 5th Ward at Lyons Avenue and Lockwood. That's where our Melissa Correa is. Melissa, what are you seeing there?
Hey there, Mia. For a second, I thought things were starting to slow down a tad, because as I walk out of the picture, you're going to see there at the welcome sign of 5th Ward neighborhood at Lyons and Lockwood, you see a heavy presence of law enforcement push back. However, in the last couple of minutes, another Houston Fire Department ambulance has arrived, and I just tweeted out video of HPD's SWAT team van moving in, along with Houston Police's bomb squad moving in. All of that law enforcement, that tactical vehicle moving in under the tree line there along Lockwood near Lyons. Wedged on either side of this scene is Atherton Elementary. Just to the south of it is going to be Wheatley High School. We've seen some students try to dodge this heavily policed scene as they begin to make their walk home from school. 2 pharmacies are on either side of this scene. We've got CVS and Walgreens, and I got to tell you, in a matter of minutes, Houston Houston Police and Precinct 1 deputies cleared out both stores. The parking lots are nearly empty. In fact, all of the vehicles you're seeing now belong to Houston Police. I want to show you, if you cannot see it clearly in the picture as photojournalist Renee pushes in, but whatever happened out here happened with a sense of urgency, and I can take away from that how all of the vehicles were pushed up on the curb here along Lyons. It looks like it was a mad dash to get to whatever was happening here. From the top down, federal government down, is law enforcement, ATF agents, state troopers, Houston Police, along with deputy constables from Precinct 1, and again, Houston firefighters on scene. Not only firefighters, but it looks like EMTs with a fire truck and an ambulance at the ready. Again, this is chaotic across Houston. Multiple scenes. We're 4 miles from that scene in the 3rd Ward. Traffic along I-10 East and that portion of 59 through downtown, think Minute Maid Park, was bumper to bumper as I was racing over here. Houston Police are likely trying to gather their bearings with all of that information. And like I mentioned earlier this afternoon, just hours before this, Houston Police Chief Troy Finner was briefing Harris County on the death of a deputy constable just on Sunday who was shot and killed during a traffic stop. And so law enforcement, as we've heard from them throughout the week, likely on edge. They have called on Houston to stop with this violence, this gun violence, those calls and pleas coming from pastors, chaplains, county leaders as well. And here we are, dozens of law enforcement officers at the corner of Lyons and Lockwood in the heart of Houston's 5th Ward, waiting, it looks like, with bated breath, as we know a bomb squad unit and a SWAT team unit made their way a little closer into a view that we just can't provide you a picture of right now, Len and Mia.
Northeast side at Lyons and Lockwood in 5th Ward. We can only surmise, folks, based on the information we're getting, that scene at Lyons and Lockwood potentially is the site where the suspect is holed up. That seems likely, but we have not confirmed that. As soon as we get more information, we will give it to you.
Yeah, 2 different scenes that we know of, so there is a lot of information to get to. Staying on top of everything, the mayor of the city of Houston, Sylvester Turner, he tweeted the following, reading, 3 Houston police officers were shot in the line of duty today, and I am relieved to hear their injuries are non-life-threatening. My thoughts and prayers go out to them, and I will be at the hospital soon to check on their recovery, thank them for their service, and speak to their families. Once again, a tweet there from Mayor Sylvester Turner in regards to the 3 Houston police officers who were shot earlier this afternoon, now in stable condition.
All right, we're also getting more information about the suspect that we are told police are looking for. There is his picture and his name. Roland Caballero is the suspect that police believe is the one that opened fire on 3 officers in the 3rd Ward about 3:30 this afternoon. We've been telling you from our David Gonzalez, who's at Memorial Hermann Hospital, that those 3 officers are in stable condition. We are being told that the officers were hit in the arms and legs, and they are in stable condition. Again, the suspect, Roland Caballero. Now, whether he is in 5th Ward at the Lyons Lockwood location, we are not sure. Mia?
But what we have learned just seconds ago from combined law enforcement this evening, that Caballero has been shot in the neck. We understand he has been injured, and he is in a standoff with officers right now. If you recall, we heard from Danielle Young, who lives there in that 5th Ward community, and she said that she saw a heavy presence of officers. They looked like they were arming themselves, moving in, and this is likely the man they were closing in on. Suspect Roland Caballero, shot in the neck and now in a standoff with officers at Lyons Avenue in this area, Lyons Avenue at Lockwood.
Yeah, when you think about the past week, folks, that we have had with law enforcement, you got one deputy that was hit by a potential drunk driver, another one shot, and now we've got 3 HPD officers shot, all in the span of 7 or 8 days. Now let's look at this tweet today from Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Referring to his wife, he says, Heidi and I are praying for the 3 officers shot in Houston this afternoon. May God's healing hand be upon them. We can all agree with that, Senator Cruz. We are continuing to stay on top of this still developing story. Again, it looks like a standoff happening right now between police and the suspect in 5th Ward. More after this.
Must see Theater Under the Stars. New
Let me just start off by saying we are certainly praying for our police officers who were shot today. I will tell you, one was shot in the foot, one was shot in the leg, and one was shot in the arm. All of their injuries are non-life threatening. Had a chance to visit with each one of them and even with some of the family members. All 3 officers are in good spirits. All were talkative. And we express, number one, our support of them, how appreciative we are of their service, and how grateful and thankful that their injuries were not a lot worse, because it could certainly have been a lot worse. So again, all of them are in good spirits, and their injuries are non-life threatening. Had a chance to talk to all of them. This has been a tough week. Starting on Saturday, it's been a tough week. It's been a tough week for law enforcement, and it's been a tough week for the city as a whole. Quite frankly, for the city as well as the county. What it indicates again is that being a police officer in this case, or in law enforcement, is an inherently dangerous job. Every single day, when these police officers leave their homes, go on their particular shifts, not knowing what they will encounter in that day, being a police officer is an inherently dangerous job. And so I cannot tell you how proud I am of every single law enforcement officer that serves our city, that gives their all in the service of our city. And so I want to ask the people in this city to continue to lift them up, to continue to be very supportive of them, to let them know that we are very supportive of them and that we appreciate them doing everything they can to keep the rest of us safe. These are inherently right now dangerous times, and that was demonstrated again today. We are living in inherently dangerous time, and it's going to take all of us working together to create and have a very safe city. There are a lot of guns on the street. Quite frankly, there are just too many that are on the streets and in the hands of people who will use these guns at a second on a notice. And again, this is one of those situations. Person gets out, person starts shooting. And now we have 3 police officers who are in the hospital with gunshot wounds. So I want to continue to be supportive. Now, let me just say this. The chief and I, on next week, we'll lay out some additional steps that we intend to take in this city to do our part as a city to try to make this city a safe city in which to live. So next week, we'll lay out some additional steps. I won't go into those steps today, but I'm going to ask people in this city to work with police, to work with Crime Stoppers and others, to participate in helping to make this city a safer city. And if we work together, we will do that. We're going to get through these times. And I know there's a lot of people are fearful right now, justifiably so, but we will get through these times. But in the meantime, please pray for these 3 officers that their recovery will be very quick, that they'll be able to get back on their feet and then get back to their jobs in the line of duty, doing what they love to do each and every day. Having said that, Chief Fennell, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Congresswoman, Councilwoman, and Chief Pena, Union, and all our other leaders. Thank y'all for standing with us. Mayor's hit on a lot of the points. I just want to say one thing. I want everybody, all our leaders, before I update you on what happened out here on this scene. No more excuses. Everybody, take an active role and get intentional in doing whatever you can do to fight gun violence in our city. Period. It's not really a difficult thing. Bad, dangerous people, it's a place for them, and that's in jail. But let me give you the update. So approximately 2:42 p.m., officers responded to a residence on the 1500 block of Trolley Street. The suspect at some point spotted the officers. He took off in a vehicle. Officers pursued the suspect to McGowan and Hutchison Street. The suspect crashed. Officers, as they got out of the vehicle, the suspect immediately fired upon the officers, striking 3 officers. All the officers returned fire. It is unknown at this time if that suspect is hit. Once he got out of that vehicle, he carjacked at gunpoint a white Mercedes-Benz. Other officers pursued him to a home in the 1800 block of Lockwood. Officers surrounded that house. The suspect fired multiple times. Thank God he didn't strike any of the officers. Officers returned fire. Again, we don't know if that suspect is injured. He's still in the home. We treat it as a barricaded suspect. We'll give you an update as I receive it. The last update I received a few minutes ago, he's still in the home. We're trying to negotiate to get him out. We got 2 crime scenes. The officers who fired, they're going to be on administrative leave after they get out of the hospital. But the mayor said it, and we're just grateful to God that they're all right. It's been a tough week for law enforcement in our city. And the two law enforcement officers that we lost, continue to pray for them and their family as we plan for their funerals. It is tough. When I received that call today, 3 officers down, and you don't know the condition. But I'm going to tell you, stand by your law enforcement officers. Stand by the justice system. And we're going to continue to work here in Harris County, Harris County, to make sure we're doing everything we can do. But we need help from everybody. And remember what I said. And this doesn't go for individuals who need treatment, suffering from drug addiction or mental illness. But these violent individuals, I'm damn tired of it. And we need to stand up as a community and do whatever we got to do. If that is to have more jail capacity, let's get it done. No more excuses. Questions?
I'm sorry. Question. Let me just say this. I do want to thank the police officers who transported these wounded officers to Memorial Hermann. And I want to thank the Houston Fire Department, Chief Pena, for being right there promptly and for transporting officers to Memorial Hermann. And then let me thank the medical team and the staff, the nurses, the doctors here at Memorial Hermann each and every time. They do an exceptional job of going over and above, providing excellent medical care to our officers, to firefighters, to people who find themselves in need of care. You just couldn't find a better place. So, we took the time, in addition to thanking firefighters and police officers, thanking the medical team and the medical staff. I do want to say that, we provided resources to